a lawsuit against Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Now, guys, this is in connection to the public records that Fani Willis and her office has withheld from them. Now, it's not really surprising to hear that the DA's office is doing something that's distasteful, is it? I mean, I don't think it's too much of a shock here. However, this time around, it kind of looks like she's using her position to allegedly violate Georgia open records laws. Now, this does not help with the credibility of Georgia's justice system at all. And a lot of critics of the DA, they're saying that she's pretty much doing everything in her power so as to maintain her position, even if it means that she's disregarding the rule of law. Now, the lawsuit from Ashleigh Merchant, this actually stems from last year. And it's kind of similar to what other government officials have been asking from Fani Willis and of her office. Requests for public records to be made public, because it really doesn't make sense to call them public records if they're not accessible to the public. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, this is what a lot of critics are calling out Willis for because of her complete disregard for these requests. Now, you guys might remember that the DA was subpoenaed by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee for records related to Donald Trump's case in Georgia. I want to say Jim Jordan led that effort. But anyway, this is in relation to possible communications that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade may have had with the White House. Now, we heard rumors that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade may have been, meeting up with Kamala Harris to find out what the plan was. But again, rumors that haven't actually been concrete proven. But when asked to open their communications or open the records of communications, they then pretty much just kind of like reject these requests. Now, the bad news for Willis is that it looks like the judge wants to be fair on this trial. So I took a little bit of snippet out of this kind of lengthy court proceeding that's really going to blow your mind. Now, before I share this clip with you guys, all I ask is that you take a second, hit the like button for the video. Totally appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel and sharing this video. But I think it's finally good. I think it's awesome that we finally have a judge that seems like they're actually trying to do their job. Take a listen.
What I'm really struggling with here is the issue here that the DA's office, in whatever manifestation, whatever we call it, a sub of Fulton County, its own independent entity, Madam DA in her official capacity, it is the question. I mean, the question can't be whether they're governed by the Open Records Act. Doesn't it have to be who's the right person to sue for enforcement of the Open Records Act? Or are we really in a place where, despite cases going back to 1996 at least, where the Supreme Court is talking about enforcing the Open Records Act against a sitting district attorney, that you've just named the wrong party? And so let's figure out, because in civil cases procedurally, where there is a right that may be vindicated, oftentimes it's just a matter of determining who is the appropriate party, and let's get the appropriate parties before the court and move forward with the substance.
Yeah, and I think frankly, I think we've appropriately named the office as the defendant, because that would be an official capacity claim against the DA herself.
Right, well, I mean, I don't want to be overly limited here, but I mean, I have said that I don't agree that Myers has applicability here in terms of the general proposition that such an entity has to exist in order to be sued. But let's not completely dismiss the county's point that the Fulton County District Attorney's Office is not a formal entity. It's not a municipal body. It's not an incorporated entity. It's just a name that we've given. I mean, if you were to sue a lot of the entities that are subject to the Open Records Act for some other violation, you'd be suing the sheriff or the DA or, the governor, right? I mean, that's how we do things in terms of suing for relief within the purview of those named elected officials.
Right, and we certainly can amend the complaint to add the district attorney individually and in her official capacity. If that solves the issue, then we're happy to do that. If this really is just a nomenclature issue, we just have the wrong party name, then we can save everybody a lot of time and just get to the heart of the matter and get the right people on the complaint. The thinking though was that an individual capacity claim would fail on its face because we didn't have any direct knowledge that Ms. Willis herself had responded to these requests, or that she had any input in responding to these requests. So we didn't have a factual basis to believe she somehow individually had participated. So that would limit us to the official capacity claim, which frankly, I thought we had done by naming the entity. I also do want to point the court to some statutes that I think shed light on whether the General Assembly believes that.
So what's interesting here, what you're hearing is this is Ashleigh Merchant's husband. They're a husband and wife, attorney, legal team. But this is big here, guys. This exchange between Mr. Merchant, Ashleigh Merchant's husband, and who's also an attorney, a legal counsel, and the judge here. But at this point, all they have to do is specifically add District Attorney Fani Willis as the individual within her capacity who is subject to the Open Records Act. That's the bottom line here. And this is the point that he literally just made here, meaning that it's possible that Ashleigh Merchant will be able to get the records from the DA's office as purposefully hidden, or as these records have been purposely hidden from the public. Because if there's nothing to hide, then why else would they do this, guys? I mean, seriously, and this is really what a lot of analysts are kind of asking at as well, right? If there's no smoke, then there should be no fire. But Fani Willis and her office have basically been, just kind of pushing back on any kind of request to provide information. Now, Sandy Monroe, one of the attorneys in this hearing who's actually working for Fani Willis, she was asked about the position of the DA's office when it comes to open records. Now, she said that the DA's office has a civic duty to make sure that there's public transparency as to how they're operating on behalf of the taxpayers, and that makes sense, right? But this is actually coming from Fani Willis's team admitting this, right? She says that this is in the Georgia Constitution, which means that Fani Willis has no right to withhold any information that's considered as public records. And this is a big deal because she hasn't responded to any of these types of requests. In fact, she legitimately kind of seems pissed off whenever she talks about it. And yet, even her own attorneys cannot refute the simple fact that they got to be transparent with this information. And so the idea from the DA's office is that, they've kind of already provided what they've been asked of, right? And yet it's pretty clear to everybody that's involved in this that they're still holding back. They're holding back information. But Monroe says that this is harassment of Fani Willis. And, that they've given all that there is to give, and that that this is abuse of litigation. So now they're trying to come up with all these reasons for why they don't have to give any more information. They're saying like, hey, we did what we needed to do. And it looks like that's not true, actually. So now the judge has said that she can't go and check all these open record requests and check each one if responsive documents were provided. And she also said that she wasn't going to deny or grant the motion to dismiss because she admits that there's an open question here. She wants to be very specific as to which entity the plaintiffs have to address in their suit, and that she's giving the plaintiffs the opportunity to also add another party that could better posture the case between the real parties and the interests. And so some experts are now saying that this says a lot about the judge because it looks like she actually wants to do her job. That's what's up here. And it kind of ends with her granting 20 days to the plaintiffs, which is the Merchant law firm, to amend their complaint. Now, this is, again, it's in alignment with them focusing the suit on who needs to be focused on, right? And just to kind of show you guys that she's being fair, she's also given the district attorney's office 20 days to file whatever motion to dismiss. So, it's working both ways, but I'll take a fair judge over an impartial one, right? But they're also going to wait on the Georgia Supreme Court to decide, they're also going to wait on the Georgia Supreme Court to guide them as to whether as well. Like, in other words, this court, this judge is making her decision, but they're also going to wait on the Georgia Supreme Court to guide them as well, so that they can be made aware as to who is the appropriate party that should be addressed here. So this is about as fair as I've seen it in a long time. But here's the thing, guys. It's now becoming pretty common for Fani Willis to be included in these lawsuits. Now, if I'm Fani Willis, I would be scared at this point because, she's obviously been doing something that she doesn't want the public to know. Besides her affair with a married man, I mean, who knows what else is going to come out. Now, the real question is, will these records be made public? Now, at this point, we're really not sure, although it's kind of good to see that the judge is at least open to the simple facts of the idea that this is something worth looking at. But what do y'all think? Should the DA's office adhere to these open records requests, or should they just be allowed to do whatever they want to do and ignore the Georgia Constitution, right? Now, all these court proceedings, they're supposedly making Ashleigh Merchant kind of like a legend in Georgia. Now, I did a previous video, guys, where I talked about a judge who got arrested over there for attacking the police. And it's alleged that the judge used a closed fist to hit a police officer with all of their might. Make sure you guys check that video out right after this one. I'll leave a link to that one in the description down below this video. But as always, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. We got British Gray in the house. What's going on? We got John Herringer. We got Deetra Smith, James Benefield, Chantel, John Gardner. What's good? What's good? Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.